All right. So we'll get started. Yeah, we have a decent amount of people here. Some people always filter in a few minutes in, but it is what it is. All right. So August 2024, we're going to look at this is the second most recent Regents. Um, Again, they are given in August and January outside of the more common June Regents for a variety of reasons. Um, you know, makeups, God forbid something happens and you have, a severe illness or something like that. I've heard of cases like a student oversleeps or, forgets to come in for a Regents, whatever happens. There's no like makeup dates. So it's like, oh, like some of you are absent for the stat test. Oh, can I take the Regents tomorrow? It's you have to take it like at that actual time slot too. So it's not like another school could be like, hey, we're going to give this. If you notice, this was a morning one. You guys are going to take an afternoon test. It's either morning or afternoon. But it's not like another school could say, hey, we're actually going to, it works better for us to do it in the afternoon. Think about with technology nowadays. I'm sure there'd be like a Reddit post or something like that, whatever you guys use, Discord. Um, there's TikToks about the algebra regions right away and all the questions like that, right? Things get out very quickly, so they do try to be very secure and strict with that stuff. All right. So again, we have a little bit of a head start, so we'll kind of just fly through some of these to begin with. We start with a factoring question. This is one of those topics where a lot of people said this is something they wanted to obviously refresh, and we are going to have review lessons where we focus on things like this, right? Factoring is one of them. Can anyone tell me for number one, not just what the answer is, but what strategy are we using there? Some product, yeah. I always say I find multiple choice factoring questions a little odd because anyone remember why I say that? Why are these like not a great question from a test maker perspective? Do you really have to know how to factor to answer this? Obviously, I'm not saying like just guess, but yeah, you could just basically do box method here. Let's say like you never learned factoring. You could just sit here and be like, all right, let me draw my little 2 by 2 3 or 4 times. So that's obviously worst case scenario. But yeah, this is some product. What two numbers add up to four? Have a sum of four and a product of -12. Okay, +6 and -2. Can't hurt. Worst case to check it out, and we can always use y equals to check equivalence. What do I mean by that? Type in the expression in the question, type in the expression from your answer, and verify that they match using y equals. Very underrated tool. For number two, which situation can be modeled by a linear? This is a common question, not this literal one, but question like this. You might be getting some deja vu reading this. I don't think we ever did this exact one, um, but you've probably seen something very, very similar. I know I have like 10 times. So which of these is linear? We'll talk about the difference. Choice one, everyone's saying, yeah, linear. We're looking for anything that's keyword constant rate of change. All the other three choices are some form of exponential, right? I see percentage, exponential. I see the word doubling, exponential. I see another percentage, exponential. Okay, exponential is some form of multiplying, whereas linear is constant. It is a little bit of a weird rate, 1 page every 3 seconds, but still constant. Okay. Number three, also keep in mind the spacing on yours is going to be different than my file just because the green book does shrink things down. So be aware of that. For number three, really the only mistake you can make here, I guess there's several, but the more common mistake, hopefully not, would be forgetting to distribute the negative. Notice I'm very quickly doing this, but um, with that second trinomial, I'm distributing that negative to each of those terms inside. And now it's just a combining like terms question. So we're going to get negative x squared, it doesn't help me, minus 9x plus 10. Choice 4 for number 3. Choice 4. Distributing the negative, combining like terms. Another common question we see a lot. The people that were in class had a little bit of an issue with number 4. I think that was the one I got a lot of questions with. Okay, this is just a translating question. It's not even asking us to solve. So let's take a look at it. Says they brought in a dollar in coins. Blah blah blah. Nickels, dimes, and quarters adds up to $28. Okay, that doesn't help us because they all say equals 28. And now here comes the problem. There were twice as many dimes as nickels and 12 more quarters than nickels. So the important thing to note is that both of those comparisons are to nickels. And as a matter of fact, it even tells you that nickels is your plain variable. So nickels is going to be x. Okay. Now we want to try to relate quarters and dimes to that using x as well. I don't want to use like y and z. I want to try to use x for all three. So for dimes, there was twice as many. That's going to be 2x. Makes sense. And for quarters, there was, what was it, 12 more? So that's just going to be 12 plus x, or x plus 12 will be our quarters. Now you do need to know the value of each. Someone was asking me that today. So nickels would be 5 cents. That gets incorporated with our coefficients. If you remember, we did do systems of equations that involved coin problems where this came up. And we talked about the idea of like getting rid of the decimal. We don't have to do any of that here with solving, but just keep in mind coin problems are, they do appear. They're not super rare. They're not super common. They pop up every so often. So which choice has all this stuff? Which choice are we looking for? Choice 2? Yeah, choice 2. Very good. Okay, another one that we see all the time. I would call this like a vocab question. Fourth degree, so highest exponent's 4. Leading coefficient, so first term is the very first number you see when it's written correctly is 2. And a constant. Constant is a number with no variable. This is just going to be choice 1. Degree, highest exponent, leading coefficient, the very first term, the very first number of the term. And constant is just a plain number. Constant doesn't have a variable, so choice 1. All right, if you know what you're doing with number 6, I know a few people ask me, like, what is this question? We did stuff like this probably on one of our very first tests on equations. Your properties. Yes, you've learned associative and commutative properties since like elementary school. And you've been using these other properties, maybe you just didn't know their name. When you like do that move where you do it on both sides of the equation, it's called the blank property of equality. So when you multiply by something, multiplication property of equality. When you divide on both sides and your teacher did the whole balance like analogy, it's the property of equality. So I always say with these, look at what happened in the problem. So what did this girl do? She added 16 to both sides. Okay, so what property would that be? See, everyone's hammering away in the chat. Choice 4, addition property. She added 16 to both sides. Addition property. All right, trying to go as quick as I can. Take a break before I pass out from talking too fast. But number 7, which one is an irrational number? Which one is an irrational number? With these, if you're confused, you could always like type these into your calculator. Like, what is this? I forgot how to do these. Like rad 3 times rad 3 is technically rad 9 or just 3, right? Rad 81 is really 9, so this is 45. I don't care what this is. It's going to be some fraction, right? It's not like it's going to randomly turn into like a pi symbol or a radical. So it's something over something, right? You just by process of elimination, it's choice 4. Anytime you add a rational ratio of integers and an irrational, radical 3 is irrational, it's always going to be irrational, as a matter of fact. Okay? Choice 4 there. Number 8. 1/3 is rational, but radical 3 is not, right? Yep. Number 8. What topic is number 8? I overheard someone saying that today in class. They're like, what is this, a factoring question? What topic would you call number 8? What topic would you call this? Yeah, this is a CTS question. Very good. I thought people were going to say like quadratics or factoring. This is really like testing, and it doesn't say it in the problem, right? That's why I asked it. This is a CTS question. It's like, hey, do you understand how to do CTS? Or, are you faking it? So here you would add 18 to both sides, and we don't even have to solve it. Now your magic number would be 9. Where am I getting 9? Half of this squared. See? I just thought that was Thursday for a second. Today's Wednesday. Good. And now this is going to be a bubble. That bubble is always going to be, this is where people like mess up. What's in that bubble, the number in it's going to be half of B. So if it's 6, my bubble is going to be 3. Really, you're doing sum product, but you don't have, I'm telling you, like you could skip the sum product part of it. Okay, so jump right to the, hey, it's x plus 3. It's half of what was there because you're cutting it into or splitting it into 2 equal groups. You're writing it as a repeated bubble, so you're splitting up 6x into 2 groups. That's where the 3 comes from. I got 27 on the right because I added 9. So we're looking at choice 2 for number 8. Another question where, how could you backdoor number 8? How could you do this like without knowing CTS, which is, I know, not like a great thing to be broadcasting, but let's go through worst case scenarios. Right? How could you do this if you're blanking out, crashing out, don't remember CTS? You could expand this, the choices. So you could do x plus 3 squared. Okay, let me do that. 2 by 2 box, move the 27 over and see which one matches. Yeah, you could actually do the polynomial side of it. Now, obviously that takes a lot longer, but could you do it? Yes. Good, up to 8. All right, number 9, I think we're pretty comfortable handling this. So I'll let someone, if they want to just call it out or tell us how they did it. They give us some data. This question was not on your test. I left this off. Choice 3 did we get? So yeah, how can anyone type or whatever? How did you do this? No one? Okay. I would just take this into my list. Min max, yeah. Well, min max, I guess gets rid of half of it. And then one var stats. Yeah, one var stat rule says, and then just look, hey, did they do it correctly? It looks like the difference between choice 3 and 4 is like the median getting messed up. The median like getting misplotted. So write it down, look which one did it correctly. Min, max, Q1, Q2, Q3. Very good. Yep. Kind of a simple question, but you'd be surprised people make mistakes with that. Number 10, average rate of change. Average rate of change, anytime you see that word, you're thinking slope in quotes because it's not actually slope. It's slope for nonlinear situations. So with average rate of change, you want to pay attention to the interval. It's not like a linear table where you could pick anywhere you want. So in this case, I'm going to look here and here. Why? Because they told me, right? The change in your y values would be 425 minus 50, which is 375. The change in x values would be 350 minus 100, which is 250. And what do we get as an average rate of change? Y divided by x, yep. 1.5, choice 3, very good. Order does matter there. If you put choice 2, that would be if you divided the other way. That would be, instead of 3 over 2, that would be 2 over 3. We doing okay so far? Number 11, transformation question. Right, this is our IHOP stuff, pretty straight up what we talked about. We've done a problem like this a million times. Number 11, if you want to shift 4 to the right, we call this our IHOP rule because to the right is actually the opposite number that you think. This would be minus 4 in the bubble, and then moving it 3 down is just the minus 3 tacked on the end. So for 11, number 11, choice 3, choice 3. Okay, worst case, if you forget your transformation rules, type the choices in. Hey, I'm not sure if this is right. Let me type it in. Oh yeah, it did move it to the right. Maybe you're messing it up or you're forgetting about IHOP. Type it in, make sure that it actually matches what it says. I'm trying to show you for all these questions like how to do it and then worst case scenarios. Number 12, this is, I would call this like modeling a function. Knowing what, in a real world application, what like the slope and y-intercept means. 45 plus 90h, the best interpretation of the y-intercept, so in this case, the number 45, this is what a plumber charges. What would you call the 45 here? You have to use, I guess, some like, don't know if I want to call them context clues or real worlds. Yeah, I would say choice one, right? I'm looking for something to be like, hey, that's a flat, like he's charging that as like a, I don't know, another word I'm looking for, like that's his base pay, right? Hey, if I go there and you realize you called the wrong number, it's still going to be $45. How much does he charge per hour? $90. That's the rate. $90 is his rate. How do I know that? That's the slope. That's in front of the variable. 45 is just a constant. That's his base starting pay. Who asked the question? What does IHOP stand for again? IHOP was just a trick to remember, like the idea that this in here, when it's inside whatever the rule is. So this works for absolute value, squaring, square roots, whatever it is. So like any function, when it's inside, it's horizontal. So inside, horizontal, meaning left or right. And OP, I'm going to combine to just stand for opposite. It's not like each letter had a word here. So op was just opposite. Inside, horizontal, opposite. Opposite meaning like, hey, -4 actually means 4 to the right. Did I miss any other questions? IHOP is fast food? I don't know if I would call it fast food. It's like fast casual. Oh, nickname is on? Oh, shoot. I thought it was 7:30. Nixon 5. All right. How we doing? Halfway through the multiple choice. Yeah. Okay. Number 13, solving an inequality. Okay, we're going to distribute. I would bring this. I would bring the 6m to the left here. You could do this a variety of ways. Okay, so I know what they're getting at here because I heard people saying this too, so people did remember this. So I brought the 6m to the left. I got -4m, and now I'm going to divide by a negative. Anyone remember there's a big deal when you divide by a negative with inequalities? Charlie, I would. Charlie is in bed already. She didn't nap today. It's a whole big thing. So she's actually in bed early. When you divide by a negative, you have to flip the sign. Yeah, flip the sign. So instead of it being less than, it's going to be greater than or equal to -4. Number 13 should be choice 4. The reason why I brought it to the left, you can technically, you might say, like, why would you do that? Couldn't you just bring the 2m to the right and avoid negatives? Yeah, but then your answer is going to look something like this, right? Blah, 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 m's on the right, and then all the choices have m on the left, so then it gets confusing. Usually with inequalities, it's kind of just like bring it to the left. But yeah, you do have that as an option. Smack the wall. Oh. Okay, number 14. 14 we did at some point. Someone recognized this. It wasn't on your test, but I think it was on like a review sheet or a review lesson. Broadway. What percentage of students who chose Broadway? So we always say like set your denominator first. So how many kids chose Broadway in total? What is that? 147? Wait, is this the test? Oh yeah, if you're just coming in, if you came in late, we're looking at the August 2024. It's in your green book. Starts on page 42. We're going through the multiple choice relatively quickly because people that were in class today, 7:21, the other classes I had in the afternoon, they got like a 20-minute head start. So some of them did like about half the multiple choice. This one I don't think was on the test, was it? I think it was pizza. Yeah, the one on the test was pizza, I think. And now how many of those 147 people were girls? 68. So what is 68 divided by 147? We did do this problem. 46. Picture me drinking? What do you want to picture my water bottle? What are we trying to get a picture of? Okay, number 15. Now, I keep talking about the idea that the Regents like changed a little while ago. Well, really last year. This is, remember I said like there's a few random topics. This was a new topic because this never appeared on past Regents. Things with radicals. Let's call them like radical operations. Um, So how do you do this? You cannot just add radicals. If you put choice 4, we have to have like a talk. You can't just add radicals like, let me add 2 and 2 and 54 and 6. And okay, that was really easy. No, you cannot do that. The rule with radicals is what's underneath it has to match. Okay, so like radical A and radical A could be added. What's underneath them has to match. Now, obviously, they don't match. However, I can clean up 54. 54 has a 9 lurking in it. Okay, so I could rewrite this. When I pull out that rad 9, it becomes a 3. Square root of 9 is 3. And now it becomes 6 rad 6. And 6 rad 6 plus 2 rad 6. Now that they match, they basically get treated like terms, like variables. So 6 rad 6 plus 2 rad 6 is 8 rad 6. Choice 4. How could you backdoor this one? You could figure out whatever this is as a decimal. So add those together. It's going to be some crazy decimal, and then figure out which choice adds up to that. So this one has a very nice hack. Obviously, it takes you just a little bit more time. But this is the real way for doing it. Jeremy, that's kind of weird. Uh, Number 16. 16, I believe we had on the systems test. So this is where we got hung up. This is not a very difficult question. But we got hung up on the idea like, hey, what are they asking for here? Can anyone tell me what are they asking for when they phrase it like that? The X value, yeah. Now, how would I do this one? Do you have to sit there and like do it by hand? No, I would type this into my calculator, go to y equals, go into your table and just look, hey, where are they sharing a y value? What are those X values? Obviously, there's a real way to do this algebraically, but I would just use the calculator. You don't have to use intersect rule. That's a good idea. You can use intersect. It would be probably a little bit faster to use the table. Intersect works well when it's like a decimal or something that you can't see in the table. Choice 3 was this one. Okay, again, type them both into y equals. Go to your table, and being that all the choices are integers, just look there. We had one like this on the test where it was like, decimals were all the choices. Then I would use intersect. I'll send it to you on Snap. Okay. Number 17. I have no idea what's going on. I do that all the time. That's how I like sit. Number 17. Which polynomial is equivalent to the product? So this is a box method question. Okay. It says x and y, but basically we're just using the trinomial 4a squared minus a plus 3 and a minus 5. So you could draw a little 3 by 2, 2 by 3 box. 4a squared minus a plus 3, a minus 5. And now fill it in. So 4a cubed minus a squared plus 3a minus 20a squared plus 5a minus 15. So we're looking for 4a cubed minus 21a squared plus 8a minus 15. So choice 4 for number 17. Straight up box method, multiplying polynomial question. Okay. Number 18. 18. Which one has a slope of 2? Unfortunately, that doesn't help us at all. And also passes through 3, 7. Now, why am I saying knowing the slope doesn't help? Because if you notice, obviously you would clean these up probably. Ooh, this is getting into point slope stuff. Um, uh, if I were to distribute this, each one is going to have a 2x, right? So this, and that's what the slope is. So that doesn't really help us. So you have a few options. Let's see. Is the reference sheet on here? If you remember, there is a formula. Let's cut it. We use this, not a ton, but point slope. This is what this question was actually using. I'll show you a few ways to do this question. Okay, so point slope was if you know the slope of a function, whatever, and you know one coordinate, you could just strictly plug it into this formula. And if you notice, like, why do all 4 choices look weird like that? That's what they were using. So all 4 choices are in point slope. Okay, so the point here is 3, 7. So if I were to plug in a 7, slope is 2. You leave x and y. You leave like the normal y and the normal x, and you're plugging in for x1 and y1. So x1 was 3. So which choice looks like this? It's going to be choice 1. Now, a lot of people wouldn't recognize that. Point slope isn't something that's very common. So how else could you do this? What I would then say is get each one cleaned up. I'm just going to skip to the answer. So get it in y equals. So you would get 2x, you get minus 6. You'd bring the 7 over, so that would become plus 1. And now what you can do is just make sure that when you plug this point in, that it works. So hey, if I plug in a 3 and a 7, does it work? Yes. So choice 1. So you could use point slope, or you could think about getting these into y equals, using your calculator, using just a manual plugin to verify that it does work. Jason Tatum is not playing now. Okay, number 19, geometric sequence. What's the definition of a geometric sequence? He tore his Achilles, which is even more serious. Yeah, geometric sequences have a multiplier. They're kind of like an exponential function. The other one is arithmetic. That's when you're adding. So in which of these are you multiplying by a -3? Ooh, a little sneaky. What do you guys think for 19? Which one is multiplying by -3? Choice 4, yeah. A little sneaky because choice 3 has a multiplier of 3, and they have a negative in there, so people look at that quickly and go, oh, it's -3. But you're really just multiplying by 3. Technically, if you're multiplying by a negative, it should bounce back and forth. Because it's positive, then it's negative. Then you hit it with the negative, it's positive. Then it's negative, then it's going to keep bouncing back and forth. And the other 2 choices are probably arithmetic, like plus or minus 3, yeah. Okay. We're getting like live Nick updates in here. Who's playing good? All right. When the equation, so this is a literal equation. This was like 22 on your mock test. When you're solving an equation that has multiple variables in it for a particular variable. So if you were to solve this for x in terms of a, what that means is get it to say x equals what's on the right side. So let's see, what do I want to do here? If I move the ax over, I have ax plus ax. Huh, this is an interesting one. That would be 2ax. Now I'm going to move the 2 over. Usually we say like, oh, you can't add these together. They're different, but That's what I'm saying. It's interesting. I've never seen that. Like, what is, and that's probably why they did it because people would get weirded out. But ax plus ax, hey, I have two of them. I'm just going to call it 2x. And the last move here, again, I wanted to solve for x. So I could get rid of 2 and a at the same time. So I'm going to divide by 2a. 8 divided by 2a is going to give me 4 over a. Choice 2. These are usually a question that people don't like, which is why maybe they're mixing them in more commonly into the multiple choice. I know last year that was our school's most common incorrect question 22 on the mock. So if you got 22 correct, I think it was 22. If you got 22 correct, you got the question that the most students in our school got wrong. Right? It's kind of challenging. There's not a backdoor here really. There's no like I know some of you tried to do some weird thing with it, but those don't always work. So you kind of just have to know how to do it. We are going to practice with literal equations, but this one was a little unique. This one was a little different. I haven't seen anything like this before. The whole idea that like these were the same. At first, I thought it was going to be another factoring one, like a GCF. Prosings. John asked to be kicked out. I'm behind in the chat. Hold on. Who's this sweaty guy? John asked to get kicked out. Okay. Say less. Oh, he's gone already. I don't see him. Okay. 21. Which one has zeros at -1, 3, and -4? So if you were to solve this with T-charts, this is a question you could do in like 5 seconds. Which one would have those solutions? Choice 3. Choice 3. Okay, remember, keep doing that. Remember when you solve these, you're really doing like the opposite. So I guess it's like an inverse type thing. Like x plus 1, the answer is -1. X minus 3, the answer is 3. X plus 4, the answer is -4. So an inverse of what's in the bubble. Pretty easy question. Number 22. What topic is 22? This is exponent rules. Do you understand how your rules work? Hey, when you multiply, you do this. When you raise it to another power, you do this. And this one looks a little different than ones that I've seen. So what we can do first is this. Okay. And I don't see that as a choice. So we'll talk about what we could do next. But first, why was I allowed to do that? Why I was allowed to do that is I'm like doing a rule in reverse. I'm doing it backwards. So let's go forwards. If I had this, I'm allowed to keep the base and add these two together. So going in reverse, I split them up. Okay, the rule is if they have the same base, you could add exponents. And that's it. So now I don't see this as a choice. Okay, no, I can't split up 2b to be like choice 1. What I can do here is I'm going to rewrite. I think we called this lesson, if you remember, I forget the name that we called it, exact name, like equivalent, something with exponents. I'm blanking out right now, but it's a little strange because it had to do with like, you got to be like a little creative with how you do this. So watch what I did. Oh, enhanced exponentials or something like that. The word enhanced was in there. For someone that has like a neat aim list or something in their notebook. What did I do? I rewrote 5 to the 2b. I wrote it as 5 squared raised to the b, which is again still 2b because I'm allowed to multiply these together. So that would give me 2b still. Now I could actually do 5 squared, and that would be 25. So the answer is going to be choice 2 here. 5 to the a power times 25 to the b power. 25 seemingly comes out of nowhere, but it's just you like remolding and remanipulating this to get 25. Okay. Almost done with the multiple choice. Maybe we'll get like a few part twos done. Oh, another sequence question. Two sequence questions in the multiple choice. In an arithmetic sequence, the first term is 4 and the third term is -2. What is the common difference? Okay, I always like to do this. It's easier to see it this way. Okay, so the common difference is between consecutives. That's -6. So what would each jump be? It's a pretty easy question. -3, choice 3. Okay, split up -6 into two equal groups of -3 and -3, and then just check that it works. 23, choice 3. All right, one last multiple choice here. We usually see this and it pops up right at the end. This one is a little bit weird because it's not actually like a rate like miles per hour or feet per second. It's just which one gives you like a filled up pool basically. So my tip with these is always to cross cancel. Does anyone want to share what they got for number 24? Yeah, this one is a little different. It's choice 4. Let's see why. So you're going to get feet cubed crosses out with feet cubed, gallons crosses with gallons, and you're left with um blah 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 truckload, right? Because the question was like how many truckloads per pool. So there's going to be some number here. It's going to be oh, it's a big number it looks like, right? Like 20,000 truckloads per pool. Okay? Some of them cancel a little bit, like this one, but then you're left with like gallons squared, which you don't want, right? This one you're left with cubic feet times cubic feet. So each one has some sort of issue with things not canceling. The only one that cancels, leaving you truckload per pool, is choice 4. With these cross cancel units, We didn't do this one. I don't think we ever did this one. Yeah, the one on the mock was similar. I'll take a little pause here for like a minute or two. If you came in late, we went through the multiple choice, which I think people got like halfway done. Some people got all the way done during class today. Maybe you didn't get anything done because you're at service league. Um, and when we're done, if you stay up to date with Google Classroom, like I'll post a neater version of this, but I'll post an answer key. But I'm kind of just quickly scrolling through it now. How do we feel about this multiple choice? How would you rate this? Pretty easy, pretty tough, fair? There wasn't anything that crazy, right? We don't love this question. 20 is always like a little, the literal equations are always a little weird, but I thought it was pretty fair. 22 is a little weird if you're not really comfortable with your rules. 24, I wouldn't say 24 is like a tough question because once you know the trick, yeah, it's pretty fair. How much is a nickel? What happened at the buzzer? Knicks are winning? Wow. Who? Oh, Bridges. Yeah, pretty fair multiple choice, I thought. Okay, like we talked about, another thing that I'm going to try to do, or at least like encourage you guys to do, because obviously it's impossible for me to stay up to with this or even to do this, but try to keep like a running. I know some of you like didn't do all this and you're just kind of doing it on the fly with me. But when we have actual assignments, if I say, hey guys, over the weekend, try this. Tonight for homework, do the multiple choice. Try to keep like a running track of how you're doing because we want to start thinking in terms of points and stuff like that. Like, hey, I got one multiple choice wrong. Okay, I got a 23 to 24. I got 46 points. I think being familiar with point totals and things like that is very useful. If you don't want the pressure of that and you're like, hey, I'm just going to do my best, I don't want to focus on points, that's cool too. But that's something to be aware of, like almost kind of like self grading yourself as we do these. Okay. All right, we're definitely not going to finish, and I don't want to rush, but we'll do a few part twos. Maybe we could finish the part twos. Now, this is what's nice about us having green books. I don't have to awkwardly be like, "Hey guys, get your graph paper and print something and do something." So it has the grids in there. Those aren't spaced too small. The written questions, they give a little bit more space. I know the multiple choice is like really crammed, but this is what's nice about the green books: the graphs, the space for the written questions. So we start with nothing too crazy, a quadratic. Now, a lot of times people ask me when they're graphing a quad, or when they're doing an absolute value, someone will raise their hand and they'll be like, "Hey, do I need to make a table?" And I usually walk away from you. Not to be mean, but you should kind of know that by now. Technically, you don't have to, but my recommendation is always going to be just write it down. Even I'll refer to the stat test. A few people got questions wrong just because like you didn't organize your work or your thoughts as clearly as you should. More so, I'm talking about like the box plot question. People like misplotted a point because they didn't write anything down. Okay. You were probably doing this, looking at your calculator screen, you're trying to graph it at the same time that you're looking at it. It's easier to put things down on paper and then just look at that and focus on that than trying to look at like a device and it at the same time, if that makes sense. So with a quadratic, we want to make a table. We always want to make sure what's in the middle. Careful. We'll get to the second part. Oh, no, you're good. Never mind. I thought I phrased it differently. The vertex, yeah, we want the vertex in the middle. There's a fancy way to find the vertex, which is negative b over 2a. In this case, it's going to be a nice one, so you can just search for it in your calculator. And in this case, it should be at negative 2. So I want negative 2 in the middle. I build a little table around that. And negative 2 is what, 3? You said 4 minus 8. Negative 4 plus 1, negative 3. Look at 0 and you get 1. Trying to just negative 3 plus 1, negative 2. And I think this is right. Someone catch, I don't have a calculator on me. But obviously, yeah, you would just copy your table down and plot. Is there a set amount of points you need for a quadratic? I say like 5 is a minimum. Do not do 3 points and try to do that. Please do not do that. So 5 at a bare minimum. 7 even makes it even better. It makes it easier to connect it. Don't be lazy. Oh, wait, did I mess up? Oh, no. 0, 1. Like, this is technically fine. I'm going to do one more just for good measure. And that's it. Now with connect, huh? It's raining really hard. Not by me. No, 7 is fine. Yeah, don't go more than that. And now with connecting it, you start in the middle and you do that. Go back to the middle and do that. That's it. And now arrows on the end. You don't technically need to label. The coordinates of the minimum. What are the coordinates of the minimum? So Kat said earlier, you would just say negative 2, negative 3. Okay, it's basically another way of saying what are the coordinates of the vertex. Now that phrasing is very weird. This is why I misread it at first. Because usually if it said like state the minimum, what would you say if it said state the minimum? If it said state the minimum instead, what would you say? Mm, the y value. Yeah. If it said state the minimum, you would just say negative 3. Okay, which is what I thought it was saying at first. But state the coordinates, it might as well just say what's the vertex. The max or min is the y value of the vertex. The max or min is the y value of the vertex. Ooh, yeah, don't do this. A lot of you guys don't like coordinates and you'll do this. Why would this be wrong? No parentheses. I don't know why so many people do that. What is this? 26. If f of x equals blah 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 blah, find the value. All right, this is a good like teaching moment here for this question because this happened on the mock, and a lot of you guys showed like really nice work. You could whatever the answer is. I'm just gonna make this up. If the answer is 6, like this is 2 out of 2. Doesn't say anything about. That's not the answer. Or it's gonna be really weird if it is. Um, it just says determine. I think the mock region said like evaluate or something. It's not getting at like, hey, show every step along the way and show me your multiplication and show me all these steps. So you could technically just use your calculator. You could plug in a half. You could change your table to go by halves and use y equals. You have a variety of options here. However you do this, it is a little bit of an ugly function. What I might suggest is like, this might be a good idea. Like do the numerator calculation. So hey, what does the numerator work out to? Do the denominator calculation and then divide separately, if that makes sense. So this would be like 30 over 4. I'm trying to do this without a calculator, so bear with me. What is that? 6. Is this just 3? Can someone help us out? Is 26 just 3? I think. He's targeting me? Oh, it says cubed in your book? Whoa. That's not good. So that's a typo. Ooh, that's that company. Yeah, because I'm actually looking at like the actual Regents file. So the book, when they typed it up, they must have messed it up. So fix that in your book, make it x squared. That's weird. Whatever the company is on the cover, it should be squared because this is the actual test. The book company is like a secondary party that takes it and manipulates it, like redoes the spacing. Topical review book. Yeah, they're legit companies. They just made a small mistake. Is it 3 though? Yeah, right. So yeah, I guess using your calculator from this one could be an issue because it's like a lot to type in. That's why I was saying like break this up into smaller pieces. If you weren't following, like type this into your calculator. Okay, that's just blah blah blah. Type this into your calculator. Okay, and then do the division separately. Or it actually works out nicely if you do it by hand. But again, you do not need to show your work for this. I know I did, but yeah, you don't have to show your work. Always read the directions. Less is more sometimes. Just says, hey, find this, just find it. It says algebraically, then think to yourself, all right, I got to actually be clear and show everything. All right, this is another topic that I would say on the mock we were a little rusty with just because it's not very difficult, but we just kind of forgot how to do this. I think going over the mock, I explained it and that probably helped out a little bit. So this says, uh, explain why. So they're telling you that it is, not like is it or is it not. Explain why this relation is a function. So explain why this is a function. Anyone want to take a stab at that? Does it matter if we put it in a decimal or fraction? Not sure what you're talking about. The last one? I see some good ones. Mitesh says, because the x values don't repeat, I may be selling. No, you're not. Because each x, Carl Anthony Towns in foul trouble. Because each x value has a unique y value. Oh, Kristen, that explanation needs a little fixing. Da, 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 da. X values don't repeat. Yeah, you can keep it simple. I'll pull up a model response. This is probably going to be one of our last ones. All the x values are unique, right? In other words, x doesn't repeat. That's like a very informal way of saying it, right? All the x values are different. It does not matter that y repeats. So if you look there, 4 and 4, we don't care about that. So that's why, Kristen, you said like the y values are unique. That's not even necessarily true here. Dear Suketh, I appreciate you taking your time. Yeah, let's look. Well, we'll do the rest of it and then I'll pull up the model. Okay, complete the table below with values for both x and y so that this new relation is not a function. Ooh. So what can we put? This usually has multiple answers, and it does here. What could I put in the x slot and what could I put in the y slot so now it's no longer a function? Yeah, I would put in a 2, and then you just want to put in any other number. Why am I saying any other number? You wouldn't want to put like 2, 5 again because technically that's not a different point. Okay? So yeah, this has a million answers. This is, I always, from a teaching perspective, I don't like these questions because you can't even make like an answer key for it. Let me pull up the model responses. Let's see what people said for their explanations. We did it very informally. So this was their perfect paper. Every x value has only one y value, which allows the relation to be a function. Okay. It has, wow, that got it too. Someone plotted the points. They did this. I'm not going to share my screen, but they made like a graph on the side and they said it passes the vertical line test, which interesting, but okay. No repeating x values. Yeah, anything along those lines. This would be a 0, so they give this a 0. It's a function because every input has an output. No, that's not true. Okay, so the key feature for a function, we're looking for no repetition among x. Each x value has a unique connection between y. In other words, x doesn't repeat. This whole analogy I usually teach the first time, like the vending machine analogy, like hey, you touch a button, one thing comes out. Knicks are up 11 or 9. Knicks in 5. Confirmed. I had a math error. Where? Where? Oh, when I said the score. Um, I looked quick. Oh my god. Questions with that one. So this is a pretty easy explanation of how you'd get 2. You're kind of like treating this as 1 and this as 1, right? Remember, these part 2s are worth 2. All right, we'll do one more question. Okay, one more. And then I'll stay on. I'm going to do from 8 to 10 p.m. I'm going to do a live watch along of the Knicks game. I'm going to be live on Twitch if you guys want. No, I'm just kidding. So solve algebraically for x. I was joking. I don't even have a Twitch. So this we actually have to show our work. The Mets are losing. Okay, it does say algebraically. So this I can't just put x equals 2 and circle it, right? Here I have to show my work. Keyword algebraically. So what would I do to solve this? I would distribute the 0.05. Okay, I'm going to multiply here. Was that 0.15? So decimals here. So use your calculator to help out with the calculations. I'm going to arrange my x's on the same side. So I'm going to bring these over together. I'm going to bring my constants on the same side together. A lot of annoying decimal stuff here. Okay, again, I'm showing a process. And what do you get here? Negative 0.30x. And what is this? Negative 0.735. Divide by negative 0.3. And we're going to get, this works out to, I think this is what some of you guys were asking earlier, like how you write your answer. Someone asked. So the answer is 24 and a half. Does it matter if I write 24 and one half, 24.5, or even as an improper fraction? No. Even in the answer key as teacher's grade, it will say like, uh, so 25.5 would be what? 49 over 2. So like it'll say or this or this. It will give you all the different ones. So it's not like one is better unless they put in the instructions like write it as a decimal, which is very weird, but it doesn't matter how you write it. Are Yankees a basketball team? I do not have Twitch. I don't. I watch like Hikaru on Twitch. That's probably it. Or no, he does like YouTube. Uh, da, 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 da. Trying to catch up. So we'll pause here. We're at question 28. Again, I didn't want to rush and be like, let's speed run the regions. So we have around, we have a few more part twos remaining. We have our 4 part threes, and we have our part 6. So hold off on those. If you really want to, and you're like, hey, I'm in the zone right now, I'm locked in. If you want to finish them, maybe you already did. That's awesome. We will at some time, if we have a few minutes in class or wherever, finish going over this. I always like to finish the regions fully, not like leave a bunch half done, because then it's like, what was the purpose of that? So we will finish this at some point, and then I'll eventually post like my full neat answer key. Let's see. How did we do overall? So we did everything through 28. We're done with like skipping around and stuff like that. So when we do these now, we are going to do them kind of like legit. I stream Fortnite. Who's Isaac Kim? The 8th grader? I don't know who Isaac Kim is. All right. I had Isaac Kim last year, but I don't know if there's another one. We'll wrap it up here, guys. Again, no need to finish this for homework or anything like that. Tomorrow, I know today was more so like setting things up, and I didn't even see one of my classes really. But tomorrow we'll do like a review lesson, a topical review. If you weren't in class, I'll do a quick little overview of again of how the packet works and things like that. Ultimately, it's something meant to help you. It's not meant to be like, here's an assignment, go do this packet. It's meant to be something for review and help. And there's a lot of good things in there. Are there practice questions? Yes, but at the same time, there's a lot of nice resources in there. Isaac Kim in 8th. Yeah, I know Isaac. I don't know which. There's a bunch of Isaacs that I've had. Don't believe Audrey. Okay. All right, guys. We'll wrap it up here. It's 8 on the dot. Go watch the Knicks game. Playing the Knicks, they'll probably be down 20 at some point and then come back and win. Let me just shut off the recording. Okay, stop.